Seeing the massive ancient horned dragon open its gaping jaws, the soldiers knew death was certain, and immediately threw all the bombs in their hands. But after the violent explosion, the horned dragon's thick skin and flesh barely suffered any damage. The captain, seeing this, quickly opened fire to suppress it, while signaling everyone to retreat and find cover. Just as the horned dragon roared and lunged again, at this critical moment, a bounty hunter suddenly made his move. An arrow wrapped with explosives whistled through the air. Although it still couldn't cause substantial damage to the horned dragon, his effective containment successfully bought time for Alice and the others to hide in a cave. However, the massive horned dragon's body was too bulky. Even breaking off its own horns still couldn't succeed. Finally, could only roar in anger and retreat back to the desert in defeat. But just when everyone thought the crisis was temporarily resolved, who would have thought an even more terrifying presence was disturbed? Fortunately, their companion reacted quickly, immediately aiming the sniper rifle at its eyes. Combined with suppressing fire, they managed to force the spider back. But when they rushed over to treat the unconscious Alice, a team member discovered more spiders were swarming from all directions. Facing the overwhelming swarm of insects, everyone could only abandon the rescue. Escaping was the priority. However, they hadn't run far when a teammate was instantly wrapped in spider silk, dragged into midair, and died on the spot with screams. At this time, Alice in the cave gradually regained consciousness. Hearing her teammates' agonizing screams, she was about to get up to provide support when a giant spider descended from above, knocking her unconscious again. When she woke up again, she found herself dragged into the spider's nest. All her teammates were hanging in cocoon webs, without any signs of life. In this critical situation, Alice immediately pulled out an oxygen canister. Taking advantage of the gap while the spider was engulfed in flames, desperately rushed toward the cave entrance. Fortunately, spiders naturally fear sunlight. She barely escaped with her life. Soon the lone Alice stumbled upon the bounty hunter's base. To show she had no ill intentions, she voluntarily handed over her weapon, even pulled out the only chocolate she had. The hunter was thrilled after tasting it. He had never seen such delicacy, so he also gave back scarce water in return. Just like that, the two formed a temporary alliance. Although they couldn't speak each other's language, through simple gestures, they discovered their destination was that area shrouded by thunderclouds. However, they first had to deal with the horned dragon in the desert. Alice suggested using a rocket launcher, but the hunter had a more clever method, which was to use her as bait. Alice stood at the cave entrance singing loudly, successfully attracting the poisonous spider. Then she ran frantically, leading the spider toward the preset trap. In a flash, the spider was tightly caught in the rope snare. The hunter seized the opportunity to descend from above. His blade flashed, severing its head, then precisely cut off the poison stinger. They grabbed the spoils and quickly retreated.
Next time, your bait!
After a night's rest, the next morning, the hunter began preparing dragon-slaying equipment. He wrapped the spider's poison stinger around an arrow, then secured it firmly with rope. Just like that, an arrow laced with deadly poison was born, and their dragon-slaying plan finally officially began. The horned dragon shot in the eye became completely enraged. With a flick of its tail, it sent the hunter flying. Seeing the horned dragon charging at them again, the hunter had no time to dodge. At this critical moment, Alice quickly set up the Gatling gun and fired like crazy. Bullets poured down like a rainstorm. The horned dragon was forced to change direction, but soon the bullets ran out. The horned dragon let out a piercing roar. Alice quickly grabbed the rocket launcher and pulled the trigger without hesitation. However, the horned dragon was not only completely unharmed, but became even more violent. It roared and charged again. Alice hurriedly dove into the car to hide, but the horned dragon's strength was beyond imagination. It easily sent both the person and car flying. When the dust settled, Alice struggled to crawl out of the car, but the horned dragon had already pounced right in front of her. Just as she fell into complete despair, the hunter actually leaped onto the horned dragon's head. With a furious roar, he stabbed the bone knife deep into the horned dragon's skull. The intense pain made the horned dragon struggle wildly, and instantly threw the hunter off. But this brief opening gave Alice a chance. She locked onto the bone knife's position, and rushed forward at full speed. The moment she got close to the horned dragon, she fired the wrist arrow from her gauntlet, using the pulling force to leap onto the horned dragon's head. Sensing danger, the horned dragon twisted its body desperately, but it was all too late. Alice gripped the knife handle and thrust downward with force. As the horned dragon's pupils gradually dilated, the giant beast finally crashed to the ground. After killing the horned dragon, the two returned to the hunter's tribe. They formed a team together and headed to an ancient ruin. There was a Tower of Babel there. They could use lightning to open the portal, and then they could return to their original world. But just as everyone stepped through the tower gate, a ball of flames fell from the sky. Two warriors were instantly burned to charcoal. With a deafening roar, the tower-guarding fire dragon descended from above. Just a single roar was enough to strike terror into their hearts. The old chief stepped forward and launched a blazing dragon slash. But against the King of Flames, that strike was completely ineffective. The hunter immediately drew his bow and shot an explosive arrow. The explosion thundered by the fire dragon's ear. Alice seized the opportunity to rush forward, wielding dual flame blades in a fierce attack. At that moment, the runes of the Tower of Babel were accidentally activated. The teleportation circle on the altar opened accordingly. Alice seized the chance and thrust both blades deep into the fire dragon's vital spot. The enraged fire dragon opened its mouth and spewed scorching flames. Alice was blown back by the shockwave and fell into the bottomless abyss. But fortunately, she fell into the teleportation passage. When she woke up again, she had returned to her original world. A group of Special Forces soldiers carried her onto a fighter jet. However, during the return flight, a loud noise suddenly came from the sky. That fire dragon had actually followed her and came to the human world. The fire dragon descended upon the human world and instantly unleashed a devastating massacre. The entire armored vehicle convoy turned to ash beneath the flames. Aerial support units immediately rushed in for reinforcement, but facing this powerful monster, humanity's armed forces were utterly helpless. 2 Osprey aircraft were instantly consumed by flames, and even the last command plane couldn't escape. Its wings were brutally torn apart, the fuselage plummeting to the ground like a cannonball. Alice, who had just narrowly escaped death, was once again thrown by the explosion's shockwave. The fire dragon landed majestically on the ground, its deafening roar proclaiming its supreme dominance. But Alice would never surrender easily. She decided to make one final counterattack. She sprinted forward at full speed, shooting an iron chain toward the fire dragon, using the traction to leap upward, and forcibly slashing open the fire dragon's wing with her bone knife. The fire dragon, having lost its ability to fly, roared in fury, opening its massive jaws to unleash flames. But this was exactly the opportunity Alice was waiting for. Braving the scorching heat of the flames, she loaded the ignited special explosive into the launcher. The bomb flew straight into the fire dragon's enormous mouth, instantly creating a chain reaction with the explosion and flames. In the end, the fire dragon was consumed by its own power, just as Alice thought victory was hers. The fire dragon let out one final roar, opening its giant mouth to swallow her whole. At this critical moment, another explosion rang out. It turned out the hunter had crossed over from the other world. In the end, the fire dragon was powerless to resist, and was completely killed by the combined human effort. But this battle wasn't over. As the Tower of Babel's portal was activated once again, another fire dragon appeared atop the tower. Amidst flashes of lightning and thunder, it descended into the human world. The ultimate battle between justice and evil, ancient and modern, had just begun.